Hi there BookTube, and welcome to today's video, which is a tag video. It's the Abookalypse Tag, Save All the Books. Originated by Liv at Read by Liv, but I clocked the version of Todd the Librarian, who seems to be the ultimate person to be able to look after himself in a post-apocalyptic world and doesn't really need any help from fictional characters. Anyway, so on with the tag. Number 1, evacuate. Everyone is out safely, but you can only go back and grab one book. Which book do you grab and why? Okay, for me, it's this book, which is actually a trilogy of novels. David Markson, This Is Not a Novel, the last novel, and what was the other one called? Vanishing Point. And they're three very similar novels, or anti-novels really, because they're made up of sort of epigrams and bits of criticism and sayings of lots of past historical artists, politicians, of anyone who's ever left an imprint in the world. And so on that basic level, I think it would be almost like a sort of a reference book of you know, the art that we've lost in the apocalypse, and it'd be a good way of sort of remembering, you know, artists and what art is in a world without art. But it is a novel, and Markson does insert himself as an author in here, so it's a bit sort of postmodern like that, and it's just a brilliant read in its own right. So it sort of performs the function of being a novel, a work of fiction, made up of a lot of factual stuff, or at least stuff that people actually said and wrote. So that would be my companion. 2, it's the Abookalypse. Choose a book that would help you with survival skills. I struggle with this a bit, and then I remembered that the Cole Hyacin novels, which are sort of comedy, caper, sort of crime thrillers, there's a regular character in there called Skink, who used to be the governor of Florida and was appalled by the sort of environmental degradation of the Everglades. So that when he was out of office, he sort of retired to the Everglades and was a sort of part eco-warrior, part sort of domestic terrorist, writing sort of wrongs and desecrations of the natural world, who lives off roadkill. So there are all these sort of, you know, exotic animals who get knocked down by cars. So even though he's sort of appalled at, you know, it's the death of another endangered species, he won't let it go to waste, and he lives off it. He's a brilliant character and very capable, and I think he could get me through the trials and tribulations of an apocalypse, although I'm not sure I could eat roadkill. 3, grab anything you will need. Grab a fan or book-related item you would want to save. Well, as I've said before in other videos, I don't have any. I mean, you know, I don't have any bookish things other than books. What would be useful if someone invented a book that folded out into a canoe or a tank? That'd be useful in an apocalypse. Question 4, zombies are coming. Which books on your TBR are you dying to read? Okay, since everything would have been knocked out in the apocalypse, such as sport, music, theatre, TV, there'd be a lot of time around the campfire to read. So I thought I'd read some of these big matters that are on my TBR pile. So the first one is The Tunnel, William H. Gass, which I have actually, I'm on about page 144. I think there should be a bookmark in here. I'm in trouble if there isn't. Yay! So that's where I am. Yeah, 142, 143. So there's that. There's this classic sort of postmodernist, no, not modernist, modernist text, I think, by William Gaddis, called The Recognitions. Look at the size of that. Lots of time reading around the campfire for that one. Just under 1,000 pages. And one I'm actually going to start this week. So it's called Maps of Meaning. This is non-fiction by Jordan Peterson. Yes, that guy who's stirring up all the shit on the internet for his views on sort of psychology and stuff. But before all that, he actually wrote this, which looks a really, really good read on sort of, you know, the function of story in humanity, you know, through history. So I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, question... Oh, not a zombie among them, I hasten to add. Question 5. We need fire. Which 3 books would you be willing to burn from your shelf? Well, I have a difficulty with this one because burning books is somewhat charged. Even in an apocalypse, it would still conjure up what the Nazis did to writers who were Jewish or what they call degenerate. So I'm a little troubled by this. Although I have to say there'd be a certain piquancy if one went round libraries and pulled out any Nazi text like Mein Kampf and that, which I think is banned in America, but I don't think it's banned here. Or it's banned in Germany, certainly. Anyway, if one pulled out these Nazi texts and burned them on the Sauberung, there would be a certain poetic justice to that. I choose art. I choose art over death. So if it was the choice between living or dying, and to live you had to burn books, I'd probably, I mean, what is life without art? And when you burn art, it's not worth living. But if I really, really had my arm twisted, there were some books that I threw across the floor. So maybe I could imagine them spontaneously combusting. So the two of those is The Good Terrorist by Doris Lessing and Demo by Alison Miller, which are both purportedly about were political novels, and they were just terrible. They were cliched. The Miller one turned out not to be politics at all, but just sort of middle class kids playing at it and actually being worried about who's sleeping with who. And the third one is Paul Auster's 4321, where I had a look at the pirate ship tag, which I thought was a brilliant tag, but I couldn't really come up with any answers except for the one question I really wanted to do. Is which character would you get to swap the decks? And for me it'd be Archie Ferguson, the main character of 4321, which if you don't know is 4 versions of Archie Ferguson's life as a sort of fairly middle class New Yorker. And one version of his life story was too much, so to have 4, so yeah, I would probably put that in a bonfire of my mind. Let's also not forget Bonfire at the Vanities. There's another bonfire about burning art, and of course once you burn stuff you never get it back. But anyway. 6. All the stories were true. Which fictional world would you never be able to survive in? Well, I think any Victorian world of manners, from the 19th century. That would do my head in. So take your pick. Question 7. Lone survivor. Which character would you choose to be your companion protector during the Abookalypse? Someone I think who could make me laugh, would keep me sane when all this sort of ruin and decay and degradation around me. So that would be Saul Carew from this novel Carew by Steve Tessick, which is just very funny. I mean, Carew is a loser character, but there's a sort of laugh on every page. He says something or does something. So I don't think our chances of survival will be very good, but at least we would die laughing. Question 8. Procreate. All of the literature is gone. Which book would you introduce as the first new classic? Okay, so all of mankind needs to replenish population-wise. So either you want a very sexy book to help the old engendering of new life, for which I have nothing. Sorry, I don't do erotica. Most books about sex are risible. Or it's something sort of more sort of philosophical and metaphysical. So I've gone with this, The Last and First Men by Olaf Stapledon, which is a sci-fi book. But it's a brilliant book about sort of imagining evolutionary turns of man in the future according to sort of what happens on Earth and in respect to other planets and other forms of life. And I can't remember exactly how many. There's about sort of 12 different evolutions of man, so that we're no longer sort of as we would recognise these bodies. They get sort of more and more sort of removed from that at each stage of evolution. And it's a brilliantly imagined, the imagination to come up with sort of 12 different versions of mankind is just stupendous. It's a bit old-fashioned and dense in its writing style, but the ideas in this are fantastic. So I would use this as the blueprint for, okay, well, we need to repopulate the Earth, but why do we have to go for this version of mankind? In a way, you want to remake man so that you avoid what causes the apocalypse, if it's war or nuclear destruction or environmental destruction. So you'd also sort of go to work on mankind's brain and on our morality and how we think and all that, which was what Nicola Barker was sort of doing in her recent book Happy, although not very well in my mind, to my mind. Okay, question 9. Starting a new community. Tag a booktube buddy. Well, I'm going to tag Beth Chats Books because I think she could have quite a lot of fun with this. So I'm just going to tag her, but I'm going to throw it open to everyone because we need all the ideas we can get to save mankind in the apocalypse. So there you have it. Till next time. Thanks very much.